Welcome to the Psych Ignition. Have you ever felt that subtle, unnerving sensation when someone is trying to guide your choices, all while pretending they aren't? They ask questions that seem innocent. They offer suggestions that appear helpful. But underneath the surface, you feel a current. Something calculated. Most people never even sense that current. They take the bait. They follow the carefully laid breadcrumbs, ending up exactly where the other person wanted them, never realizing they were guided every step of the way. But you feel it. You catch the flicker in the silence, the slight pressure in the tone, and the moment you catch it, something profound happens within you. A switch flips. You disengage. You pull your energy back behind a wall of quiet observation. And the person trying to steer you is left confused, their usual tactics suddenly, inexplicably, failing. If this resonates with you, if this is your instinctual reality, you are likely operating from a sigma frequency. You are a sigma male. Someone whose internal architecture is far more resistant to control than most people can ever comprehend. And that very fact makes you a disturbance in the force. Not because you are difficult or confrontational, but because the common methods for influencing human behavior simply bounce off you. The psychological levers that work on the majority of the herd hit a silent, immovable wall when they try them on you. And when people cannot predict you, when they cannot locate your buttons or pull your strings, it creates a deep frustration. Some will respect this quiet power, but others, they will resent it. They'll label you as stubborn, difficult, impossible to work with. But what they truly mean is, you are impossible to control, and they cannot stand it. So let's delve into the 12 habits that forge this immunity. These are not tricks or techniques. They are the natural reflexes of a mind that operates on a different wavelength. They are the very behaviors that shut down the attempts of those who try to push you. And once you understand them, you will see with crystal clarity why some people become so unsettled when they realize they cannot move you. Number 1. They walk away the moment something feels off. Consider this. Most controlling tactics succeed for one simple, devastating reason. The target remains in the conversation long after their intuition has screamed at them to leave. Studies show over 80% of people admit they felt that initial ping of dissonance. But they dismissed it. They stayed. They listened for explanations. They gave one more chance. And that extra time, that fleeting moment of doubt in their own instinct, was all the manipulator needed to sink their hooks in and tighten their grip. If you are a Sigma, you do not grant them that window. Not out of innate suspicion or antisocial impulse, but because your entire nervous system is wired for a different kind of threat detection. That feeling when something is off, that is not just a fleeting emotion. It is your subconscious pattern recognition engine running at lightning speed, cross-referencing the present moment against a vast library of past experiences. Your deeper mind has already spotted an inconsistency that your conscious mind hasn't yet put into words. And instead of dismissing that signal as irrational, the Sigma male has cultivated the profound self-trust to act on it. This is what drives the subtle manipulator to insanity. Their entire strategy is a house of cards, dependent on you staying engaged long enough for the sequence to unfold. They test a boundary. They build false rapport. They create small, seemingly harmless commitments that lead to much larger ones. But if you walk away at the very first boundary test, the entire sequence collapses into nothing. They never reach step 2 because you refused to stick around for it. From the outside, your exit may look impulsive, like an overreaction to nothing. But you did not overreact. You simply possess a lower tolerance for red flags than the collective. You have learned, through experience often earned the hard way, that red flags do not magically turn green simply because you choose to ignore them long enough. Think of it this way. Most people treat warning signs as mere suggestions. You can acknowledge them and still proceed if the desire is strong enough. But the Sigma treats warning signs as data, cold, hard, factual data. If the data indicates danger, changing your emotional relationship to that data does not change the reality of the danger. It remains. So why would you proceed? Walking away for you is not an emotional act. It is a logical one, a strategic retreat based on the evidence presented. And that very logic protects you from the intricate traps that others walk into, simply because they were too polite, too doubtful, or too eager to leave when their soul told them to. Number 2. They don't need approval, so praise doesn't work. Flattery is one of the oldest psychological weapons in the human arsenal. You tell someone they are intelligent, perceptive, special. You inflate their ego, make them feel seen and validated. And once they are bathing in that external validation, you make your request. And they comply, often against their own best interests, because they don't want to disappoint the person who made them feel so good. It is a transaction. Praise in exchange for compliance. And it works with devastating efficiency on most people because so many are starving for validation. They are hungry for someone to tell them they are enough. But the Sigma male is not starving. He is full, not from a place of arrogance or an inflated ego, but from a place of quiet self-containment. He knows his own competencies. He is aware of his own worth. He does not need you to tell him. So when you attempt to flatter him, the words don't land with the intended effect. Instead, they feel strange, overt, as if you are trying too hard, as if you want something. And that subtle suspicion overrides any brief, superficial pleasure the compliment might have provided. Here is the psychological core that makes this habit so effective against manipulation. Praise only functions as a tool of control if the target needs it. If their self-worth is built upon the shifting sands of external opinion, but if an individual has done the profound internal work of validating themselves, external praise becomes decorative. It is pleasant, perhaps, but entirely unnecessary. And because it is unnecessary, it cannot be used as leverage. Observe how this plays out in a sales manipulation. The salesperson showers you with compliments. You're so smart for considering this. You clearly have a brilliant eye for quality. They are constructing an identity for you, building you up so you will feel compelled to spend money to live up to that fabricated image. But if you do not need them to tell you that you are smart, the entire tactic disintegrates. You simply evaluate the product on its objective merits. The emotional hook never sets because there is no inner void for it to hook into. The Sigma personality learned, often early in life, that external validation is an unstable foundation. It fluctuates based on who is in the room and what they want from you. So they undertook the more demanding task of building an internal citadel of self-validation. They measure themselves against their own internal scorecard. Did I act with integrity? Did I push my limits? Did I solve the problem with the resources I had? These questions require no one else's input. The answers come from within. And once you are operating on these internal metrics, external praise becomes mere background noise. Pleasant, maybe, but noise nonetheless. And noise cannot steer your decisions. Number 3, they verify everything before they believe anything. In the social contract, most people operate on default setting of trust. Someone tells them something, and they accept it as truth, unless given a glaring reason not to. This makes social life fluid. If you questioned every statement, every interaction would become an exhausting cross-examination. But this automatic trust is the very fuel that manipulators run on. They present you with a false premise. You, operating on social autopilot, accept it. And then they begin constructing an entire reality upon that shaky foundation until you are making significant choices based on information that was never true to begin with. The Sigma male suspends that automatic trust. Not out of paranoia, but from a place of seasoned wisdom. They have been burned enough times to understand a fundamental truth. People do not always speak the unvarnished truth. Sometimes they are simply mistaken. Sometimes they are repeating rumors without verification. and sometimes they are strategically shading the truth to serve their own interests. Therefore, any information that comes from a human source is held in a state of suspended belief until it can be independently confirmed. Before acting on any claim, the Sigma verifies. He checks sources. He seeks out data. He cross-references narratives. Only after this process of independent confirmation does the information graduate to the status of reliable. This habit springs from a cognitive style known as systematic thinking. The Sigma's mind is not satisfied with how things appear to work. It craves to understand how they actually work. So, when a claim is made, especially one that seems conveniently aligned with the speaker's interests, the Sigma's first instinct is not trust, it is curiosity. Is that actually true? What is the evidence? How can I know this for myself? Until these questions are answered to his satisfaction, the claim remains in the unverified category, and thus it does not influence his decisions or his worldview. From the manipulator's perspective, this is a nightmare scenario. Their entire art depends on controlling the narrative you consume. If they can feed you a carefully crafted story and you accept it, they can steer your perceptions and therefore your actions. But if you are verifying everything through your own independent channels, you are building your own understanding of reality, brick by verified brick. You are constructing a fortress of fact, immune to the false narratives they are trying to sell you. And when you make decisions from within that fortress, you make choices they did not anticipate, choices they cannot control. And that is the death of their manipulation. Number 4. They stay emotionally neutral when someone's testing them. This is the subtle art of how people map your psyche to control you without you ever realizing you've been charted. Someone delivers a carefully crafted emotional provocation, a subtle insult, an over-the-top compliment, a challenge to your competence. They are creating a spike in your emotional field to gauge your reaction, and your reaction, that initial unguarded flicker, tells them everything they need to know. If you flare with anger, they now know that is your trigger. If you retreat into defensiveness, they have located an insecurity. If you light up at praise, they now possess the key to your vanity. Every emotional response you give them is a data point, a coordinate on the map of your vulnerabilities. And once that map is drawn, they can navigate your behavior at will. But when someone is testing a Sigma, the map remains a blank page. When the provocation comes, when the test is clearly underway, the Sigma's energy doesn't spike, it goes flat. Not cold, not hostile, but profoundly neutral. The emotional equivalent of a non-reactive surface. This is not a performance, it is a reflection of a different internal processing system. Where most people feel a social pressure to react, to keep the emotional exchange flowing, the Sigma feels the impulse too. The pang of irritation, the flush of pride. But they consciously choose not to let that pressure run the show. The core question arises: if someone is intentionally trying to push me, why would I hand them a genuine emotional response? To do so would be to willingly give them ammunition. Psychologically, this is a powerful combination of low agreeableness and high emotional regulation. Low agreeableness means they feel no innate obligation to make others comfortable through their own emotional expressions. High emotional regulation means they can feel the storm internally without letting a single drop of rain fall externally. So when the bait is dangled, they recognize it for what it is. They feel the tug, and they simply observe it. This observant neutrality completely disarms the manipulation. The manipulator is left throwing a punch into empty space. There is no impact, no anger to escalate, no pride to exploit, no insecurity to pick at. Just a calm, detached presence that refuses to play the game. When their emotional provocations yield no return, most manipulators simply cut their losses and move on to an easier target. Because if they cannot get you emotionally activated, they have no lever to pull, no string to tug. You have, quite simply, removed the steering wheel they were reaching for. Number 5. They keep their plans private until they're done. There is a powerful, almost magnetic urge to announce our ambitions to the world. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to completely transform my life. We share it with friends, family, colleagues. And in that moment of sharing, we receive a reward, a hit of social validation, encouragement, support. People tell us, "That's amazing." And we feel a sense of momentum, as if the goal is already halfway achieved. But here lies the hidden trap. That very announcement creates a cage of social pressure. Now, people are watching. They will ask for progress reports. They will expect updates. And if you fail, you do not fail in private. You fail in the public square of your social circle. That pressure can be a motivator for some, but for most, it becomes a paralyzing force. The Sigma male operates on a different wavelength. They do not announce, they initiate, quietly, in the shadows. No fanfare, no declarations. The world remains unaware of the project taking shape in the quiet focus of their mind. Then, one day, it simply appears. A new business is launched, a new skill is demonstrated, a career has changed, and people ask, astonished, "When did you do this? Why didn't you say anything?" The answer is always a variation of the same theme. I've been working. The work was the point, not the announcement. This habit is a powerful defense against a specific and venomous form of manipulation: sabotage. When people are aware of your plans, they can interfere. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes with the best of misguided intentions. They can discourage you, listing a dozen reasons why you will fail. They can offer help that only serves to derail your vision. They can compete, rushing to copy your idea and beat you to the finish line. All of this becomes impossible if they are unaware of the race until you have already crossed the line. Consider how many brilliant ideas are stillborn in the talking phase. The spark of inspiration ignites. You share it with excitement, and someone, a friend, a family member, immediately douses it with their own fears and doubts, not out of malice, but out of their own projected limitations. And because you value their opinion, their doubt becomes your doubt. The idea withers. But if you had never spoken a word, if you had nurtured that spark in the fertile silence of your own resolve, building it until it was an undeniable flame, their doubt would have been irrelevant. The Sigma understands this at a bone-deep level. So they guard their creative energy with a quiet ferocity. They recognize that every time you explain your plan, you expend energy. Every time you defend your vision against a skeptic, you drain the very reservoir you need for the execution. The Sigma would rather pour 100% of that precious energy into the work itself, and 0% into the explanation of the work. The only way to achieve this is through a disciplined silence. Let the final result do all the talking, and results, my friend, need no defense. Number 6. They delay decisions when they feel rushed. Urgency is a psychological trigger, one of the most potent tools in the manipulator's arsenal. Limited time offer. Only one left in stock. This opportunity vanishes at midnight. The goal is not to inform you, but to override you, to flood your rational, deliberative mind with a surge of emotional panic, forcing you to leap before you look. If you believe you are about to lose your chance, you will bypass your own evaluation process. You will skip the questions, silence the doubts, and say yes to things you would normally reject, all to avoid the phantom pain of future regret. The Sigma has a built-in immunity to this false pressure. They recognize the scent of artificial urgency instantly, and their response is a conscious, deliberate counter-move. They slow down. The more they are pushed, the more they intentionally decelerate. This is not born of stubbornness, but of a profound instinct for self-preservation. They operate on a core principle. Rushed decisions are almost always bad decisions, and the consequences of a bad decision will linger long, long after the manipulator's fake deadline has evaporated into nothing. What makes this habit so devastatingly effective is a simple, observable truth. Genuine urgency is a rarity. Most of the now or never scenarios are theatrical illusions. The deal will return. The last chance will have a sequel. The limited stock will be restocked. And even in the rare case it isn't. There is always another path, another option, another door. But fake urgency depends entirely on your belief in the illusion. It requires you to accept that this is your one and only shot, that your entire future happiness hinges on this single frantic moment. The moment you call that bluff, the moment you calmly refuse to be rushed, the entire manipulative structure loses its power. The strings are cut, and the puppet no longer dances. Think of the high-pressure sales environment, the timeshare presentation that traps you for hours, the car dealership that won't let you breathe. These tactics work because exhaustion and time pressure erode resistance. You eventually sign just to regain your freedom. But the Sigma male feels this pressure like a physical weight, and his instinct is to throw it off. The moment he senses the walls closing in, he stands up and walks out. He is not being rude, he is being free. He hates the feeling of being hustled, especially when critical information is missing. If there is a decision to be made, he prefers the silence to think, to analyze, to test, without the distracting hum of someone else's agenda. And that solitary, deliberate pace is the kryptonite to the salesperson's entire strategy. Their plan demands your presence, but you are already gone, your freedom intact, your power undiminished. Number 7. They notice what people do, not what they say. Words are cheap currency. They cost nothing to mint and are spent with reckless abandon. You can count on me. I would never do that to you. This is a fantastic opportunity. Anyone can weave a tapestry of beautiful promises, and most people accept this currency at face value because social life is built on a foundation of implied trust. You believe what you hear until you are given a reason not to. But this system contains a fatal flaw. By the time a person's actions give you that reason, the damage is often already done. The betrayal has occurred. The manipulation has succeeded. The Sigma male tunes out the noise of words and tunes into the frequency of behavior, because behavior is expensive. It costs time, effort, and intention. It is the ultimate reveal of a person's true character, their actual values, not the curated version they present with their vocabulary. A person says they respect your time, but their behavior shows them consistently late. The behavior is the truth. A person says they are your ally, but their behavior shows them absent when you need support. The behavior is the truth. Words are the soundtrack. Behavior is the plot. The Sigma is a masterful reader of the plot. This pattern is born from experience, from moments where promises shattered against the hard surface of action, where smooth talkers were revealed to be hollow inside. They learned, irrevocably, that the only reliable predictor of future behavior is past and present behavior, observed over time. So they become silent archivists of action. They track patterns. They remember who follows through and who fabricates excuses, who is consistent and who is convenient. This behavioral data carries infinitely more weight than any charming reassurance being offered in the present moment. For the manipulator, this is a profound problem. Their primary tool is persuasion, a craft built entirely on language. They rely on saying the right things to manufacture trust, to create desire, to instill a false sense of urgency. But if you are not listening to their words, if you are only watching their hands, their track record, their consistent actions, their persuasion has nothing to grip. They can talk until they are breathless about how this is for your benefit, how this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal. But if their behavior, their history, tells a different story, you remain unmoved. They cannot fake behavior as easily as they can fake words. Behavior requires investment. It demands consistency. It takes sustained effort. Most manipulators are not willing to make that kind of long-term investment for a single target. So, they fold their tent and move on, seeking easier prey in the wide-open fields of those who listen only to promises. Number 8. They don't explain themselves to people who don't matter. There exists a powerful, often unspoken social contract. When you make a choice that another person questions, you owe them an explanation, a justification, a reason that satisfies their curiosity or appeases their disagreement. Why did you say no? Why are you leaving? Why don't you want to participate? You feel the weight of this obligation, a compulsion to make your private logic public, and the manipulator leans into this weight with all their force. They demand your reasoning, they challenge your premises, they poke holes in your logic. And the moment you engage, you have already stepped onto their battlefield. You are now defending a decision that should, by its very nature, be final. The act of defense implies the decision is still up for debate. It is not. While most people exhaust themselves in this endless cycle of explanation and justification, the Sigma male simply does not engage. He does not explain himself to those who are not directly impacted by his choices. This is not a function of rudeness, but a function of profound strategic awareness. He recognizes that the request for an explanation is rarely a request for information. It is a request for leverage. The person asking why is often searching for the weakest point in your argument, the emotional hook they can use to pull you back into a negotiation you never agreed to have. Your final decision is suddenly back on the table, becoming a mere opening bid. This single habit neutralizes an entire category of manipulation. Guilt trips, emotional blackmail, social pressure, all these tactics require your participation. They need you to explain, to justify, to defend. They feed on your engagement. But if you simply refuse to engage, the tactics starve. The manipulator pushes. They demand reasons. They try to make you feel guilty for your silence, and you let them. You allow them to sit in their own discomfort, because their discomfort with your boundaries is not your problem to solve. Your decision stands, unassailable, regardless of their opinion on the matter. Consider the immense energy wasted on justifying a simple no. Someone asks for a favor you cannot or will not do. Instead of a clean refusal, you craft an elaborate excuse. I'm too busy. I'm not feeling well. I have other plans. And now they problem solve your excuse. I can help you with your work. We can do it next week. You are trapped in a web of your own making. But a simple no, offered without further explanation, is a closed door. There is no handle to grip, no crack to pry open. The Sigma understood that no is a complete sentence long before it became a popular mantra. This does not mean he never explains himself. He offers his reasoning freely to those who have earned his trust, whose opinions he genuinely values. But that trust is earned, not given. Strangers have not earned it. Acquaintances have not earned it. And those who are clearly trying to manipulate you have most certainly not earned it. They receive the decision without the debate, and if that unsettles them, that is their journey to take. Your journey is already underway. Number 9. They ask questions that expose lies. Most people navigate the world by accepting the narratives they are given. Someone offers an explanation, tells a story, and unless it is blatantly absurd, it is absorbed as truth. This is especially true when the story is emotionally compelling, when it tugs on our heartstrings or confirms our biases. We want to believe, and there are those who have mastered the art of exploiting this very want. They craft narratives designed to sound plausible, to feel right, to make you need them to be true. And if you are not paying attention, you will accept the story and act upon it, playing the role they wrote for you in their script. The Sigma male does not accept narratives. He tests their structural integrity, not with aggression, but with a calm, persistent curiosity. When presented with a claim, his response is a sequence of thoughtful, probing questions. And then another, and another. He is not trying to be difficult. He is trying to see if the story can withstand the gentle pressure of basic scrutiny. And most fabricated tales cannot. Because lies are not built for consistency. They are built for persuasion. They are designed to sound good in the moment, not to hold up under cross-examination. The moment you begin asking for details, how exactly did that happen? What did they say next? Why would they do that? The cracks begin to show. The timeline fails to align. The motivations become contradictory. The stated facts conflict with observable reality. And the storyteller begins to falter, to backpedal, to grow agitated. This habit makes the Sigma a fortress against deception, because all cons, all manipulative games, rely on one critical factor: the mark not asking too many questions. They depend on you accepting the premise and eagerly moving to the next act of the play before you've verified the first. But the Sigma refuses to turn the page. He lingers in the introduction, asking questions until his curiosity is satisfied. And if he is never satisfied, he never advances. The con grinds to a halt, dying right there in the opening scene because the manipulator could not get past the gatekeeper of verification. Observe what happens when you calmly, neutrally, ask someone to clarify their story. If they are speaking the truth, the details flow effortlessly. The narrative deepens and becomes richer, remaining consistent throughout. But if they are lying, you will feel the tension rise. They will become defensive. Why are you asking so many questions? Don't you trust me? They will attempt to make you feel guilty for your own discernment. But that very defensiveness is the confirmation. Truth is not afraid of questions. Lies despise them. So the Sigma continues to ask, quietly, persistently, until the liar, cornered by their own fabrication, either confesses or retreats in frustration. Either way, the manipulation fails. This extends beyond outright falsehoods into the subtle manipulations of everyday life. Someone gives you a flimsy excuse for why they cannot fulfill a commitment. You ask a simple, clarifying question. Their story shifts slightly. You ask another. It changes again. They may not be malicious liars, but they are revealing their unreliability through the inconsistency of their words. You did not have to accuse them of anything. You simply asked questions, held up a mirror, and allowed them to expose themselves. Number 10. They let silence do the heavy lifting. In a world addicted to noise, to filling every empty space with sound and justification, silence is a superpower. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with conversational pauses. They feel a psychological pressure to speak, to clarify, to reassure, to explain. This vulnerability is a goldmine for the manipulator, who uses this pressure to force concessions, extract information, or steer a conversation into uncertain waters. The Sigma male understands the profound, unspoken language of silence. He does not fear the void in a conversation. He cultivates it. When presented with a pressure tactic, a lowball offer, or an emotional ultimatum, his first response is often to say nothing at all. He lets the proposition hang in the air, suspended in the quiet. He is not being difficult. He is allowing the other person's own words to echo back at them, stripped of their initial momentum. In that silence, pressure reverses direction. The manipulator, accustomed to people scrambling to fill the void, suddenly finds himself alone with his own tactic. He begins to feel the weight of the silence. He may start talking again, unprompted, often weakening his own position, adding concessions, or revealing his true intentions simply to escape the discomfort that the Sigma is not feeling. This is a masterclass in emotional regulation and strategic patience. The Sigma's mind uses the silence not as a void, but as a strategic space for clear-eyed assessment. It is in the quiet that the hidden motives and flaws in the other person's proposal become most apparent. He is not using silence as a weapon, but as a sanctuary, a place to process, to observe, and to allow the other person to reveal the truth of their character without his interference. The manipulator's entire game is one of controlling the rhythm and flow of an interaction. By introducing a deliberate, unbreakable silence, the Sigma seizes control of that rhythm. He changes the music from a frantic, high-pressure beat to a slow, deliberate tempo where clarity can emerge. In this space, the manipulator's rushed emotional ploys are exposed for what they are: flimsy constructs that cannot withstand the patient, silent scrutiny of a centered mind. Number 11. They reject the premise of the game entirely. Most manipulation operates by pulling you into a hidden framework, a set of unspoken rules designed to guarantee your loss. The rules might be: you must be polite. You must avoid conflict. You must not appear selfish. The manipulator initiates a game within this framework, confident you will play by these social contracts. The Sigma male's most potent defense is often to refuse to play. He does not engage on the manipulator's terms. He does not try to win their game. He steps off the game board entirely. When someone tries to bait him into an argument, he doesn't defend. He observes. When someone tries to trap him with a false dilemma, you either do this or you're a bad person, he rejects both options and proposes a third. When someone uses social guilt, he simply does not accept the premise that he should feel guilty. This is not defiance for defiance's sake. It is the ultimate expression of autonomy. It stems from a core realization. You do not have to accept every invitation to a conflict. You do not have to answer every question posed to you. You are not obligated to participate in a dynamic that serves only to drain your energy and compromise your position. Psychologically, this is the difference between being reactive and being sovereign. The reactive person's choices are dictated by the moves of the other player. The sovereign person's choices flow from their own internal compass. The manipulator is trying to hand you a script. The Sigma simply declines the role. This completely flummoxes the controlling individual. Their entire strategy is a sequence of moves anticipating a certain range of reactions: anger, defensiveness, negotiation, guilt. These are all within the expected range and can be managed and exploited. But a calm, detached refusal to participate in the dynamic itself is a move outside their playbook. It is a checkmate in one move. They are left standing there, holding their script, with no one to read the other lines. Their power was always contingent on your participation. By withdrawing your consent to play, you reveal their power to be an illusion. You haven't beaten them at their game. You have made their game irrelevant. And there is no countermove for that. Number 12. They'd rather lose the deal than compromise their terms. Most people approach negotiation from a place of scarcity. A fear of loss echoes in their mind. The fear of losing the job, the relationship, the opportunity. The fear that something is better than nothing. And the other party senses this fear, this hunger, and they push. They demand more concessions, lower standards, softer boundaries. And because the fear of nothing is so potent, most people cave. They compromise the very things that made the deal valuable in the first place. The Sigma male negotiates from a place of internal abundance. This is not because he has infinite options, but because he has infinite clarity. Before he even enters the arena, he has decided, with cold finality, what his non-negotiable terms are. His boundaries are not suggestions. They are the load-bearing walls of his integrity. Anything that falls outside those terms is met with an automatic, unemotional no. It does not matter how glittering the opportunity appears on the surface. If the core terms do not align with his standards, the deal is dead, and he is completely at peace with that. To him, a bad deal is a poison, not a prize. A compromise that violates his core principles is a defeat, not a compromise. He would rather walk away 1,000 times than accept a single arrangement that forces him to betray himself. This unwavering clarity provides the Sigma with a monumental advantage in any negotiation. While others are emotionally seduced by the potential outcome, he remains intellectually committed to the foundational terms. His standards do not drift or soften under pressure. They are fixed points, like stars in his personal cosmos. And the other person, often through sheer frustration, quickly learns a powerful lesson. The only possible deal is the one that already fits within the Sigma's predefined structure. Consider the dance of a salary negotiation. Most people, terrified of the offer being rescinded, accept the first number or make a timid counter before quickly folding. The Sigma enters with a minimum acceptable number, a line drawn not in sand, but in stone. The company offers below that line. His response is not anger or negotiation. It is a simple, final no. They try the usual tactics. The market rate is lower. Other candidates are less demanding. He does not care. His number is his number, a reflection of his validated worth. And so he walks, without drama, without hard feelings. It was simply an incompatibility of terms. And in a stunning number of cases, the company circles back, meeting his number. They realize they are not dealing with a desperate person, but a principled one. And principled people, they learn, command better terms. This is not inflexibility for its own sake. The Sigma will gladly compromise on the non-essentials, the timeline, the minor details, the superficial perks, but on what truly matters: compensation, respect, autonomy, philosophical alignment. There is no movement. These are the pillars. By making them non-negotiable from the outset, he performs a powerful act of filtration. He allows only those opportunities that meet his baseline requirements to even enter his life. Everything else is rejected before it can waste a moment of his time or a fraction of his spirit. He understands that the future is built upon the terms you accept today. And if the terms are wrong today, the future will be built on a cracked foundation. None of these habits are about complex strategies. They are about a fundamental orientation to the world. Together, they form an immune system, a psychological architecture that is resistant to the common viruses of manipulation. Every tactic that works on the majority fails on the Sigma. Not with a dramatic clash, but with a quiet, impermeable resistance. It is not that they are invincible, but that manipulating them requires an investment of effort so profound that it ceases to be worth the return. Manipulators are, at their core, lazy. They seek the path of least resistance, the easy win. And the Sigma male is the living embodiment of maximum resistance. He is the immovable object that stops the unstoppable force of social control dead in its tracks. So, reflect on your own life. Feel the shape of your own boundaries. So you see, it was never about being difficult. It was never about being confrontational. It was about integrity. It is the quiet understanding that your peace is not a bargaining chip. Your energy is not a currency. Your will is not a toy to be placed in another's hands. These habits, this immune system, it is not a wall you built to keep people out. It is the foundation you laid to keep yourself, your true, sovereign self, fully intact within. It is the ultimate declaration that you are the author of your own life, and you will not hand the pen to anyone else. The world will continue to spin its webs. The puppeteers will always look for new strings to attach. Let them. Your power does not lie in fighting their games. Your power lies in your profound, unshakable refusal to play. You are not a puppet. You are the calm in the center of the storm. You are the silence that drowns out the noise. You are the sovereign. Remember that. And watch as the world, frustrated and in awe, is forced to meet you on your own terms. If this breakdown hit you like a cold dose of reality, then you already know what to do. Hit that like button to let us know you're feeling it. Drop a comment and tell us your thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. This is where we keep it raw, real, and unapologetic. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just straight facts. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Because truth like this, it's not for everyone. But for those who get it, it changes everything. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.